Hello friends! Today, after almost 2 weeks of researching, many attempts, viewing a lot of materials, I'm finally recording a video on applying custom shoes with heels for MetaHuman. And as it turned out, this is a very complex topic, at least now. Maybe in the future the MetaHuman developers will fix this, but now MetaHuman Creator has default shoes only with flat soles. And if you want to create shoes with heels for your MetaHuman, you'll have to do a little work in Blender and Unreal Engine. I was looking for a lot of information, video on YouTube. I still couldn't find a complete guide in one video how to do it correctly so that everything would work well. And that's why I created my own video. I collected the information available, including on English language resources, and collected it all in one such lesson. And I would also like to add that I made high-heeled shoes. I modeled it myself in Blender. I will leave the file already configured with weights. In general, the FBX file that you may need it. I'll leave a link below in the description of the video. You can download it from Google Drive. Also in the description of the video, I'll leave a link to the walking animation that I used here. This is walking in high heels. It's called Catwalk. I downloaded it from Mixamo, and by the way, I have a separate lesson, how to convert Mixamo animations to Unreal Engine. So you can apply this animation, or you can use another animation of walking in heels. Let's get started. The first thing we need to do is insert our character through Quixel Bridge. I have it already loaded, so it's located in the MetaHumans local folder. Here it is. If you don't have it downloaded, you will need to click download, and if it is not configured, you will need to configure it first through this button, Start MHC. And you definitely need your character is wearing slippers when you import it from MetaHuman Creator. So let me show you what I mean. I have a character wearing these slippers. They can be found here at the very bottom of the shoes section. Find them and apply them. We will remove them later, so the color of the material doesn't matter. You will need to put these slippers on the character and then download it and upload it to Unreal Engine. After you have downloaded the character, you will have here in such a downloaded icon. Click Add and the character will load. I have it already downloaded, so I will just continue. Then after loading the character, you will have it in the content drawer in the content folder MetaHumans in the folder that you named the character. I named it Rochelle Barefoot, so I put it in the scene. Reset the location so that it goes to the beginning coordinates. I chose the hair that is shown only in the LOD0 or LOD1. Here you can change which of the LOD will be shown, and here you need to select LOD sync. Forced LOD, you need to select 1 or 0. Compile and save, so we will always have a character shown in the LOD1 or LOD0. Close this window. Here we have hair. What do we now need to do? Firstly, we need to take off the shoes. For this, we again need to go to Edit Blueprint and go to Feet section, and we see that here are the slippers on the skeletal mesh asset. Here are the slippers. You need to click this button. So we find where they are located and you just need to remove them. Then you need to press Force Delete. Now we have a barefoot character. We will replace these slippers with high-heeled shoes. After we have removed the shoes, we will need to export our character. So how do we export? We need to export the body of the character. Go to Details, click Body, and here in Skeletal Mesh section, click again on the folder button to find where the mesh of the body is located. Then you need to right-click, Asset Action Export, rename it. I already have a name, so I'll just replace this file. The main thing is to make the name clear that we saved this body without shoes, and here it's important to export with these settings. Level of detail should be unchecked, and export morph targets also need to be unchecked. So these are the settings you will need to have, and then export. Go to Blender, and here we will need to import just created FBX file from Unreal Engine. I have it here. I created a special folder, Custom Shoes, and save everything in it. I think I exported this file. Yes, animation doesn't need. The rest of the settings like that. Let's save and import. Our body with bones imported. We will need bones for custom shoes to bind them to the bones and configure the vertex group. Please note that here I imported the body without clothes, but it's not scary for us. It doesn't bother us, we only need bones and a foot here. In general, I already have shoes here that I created experimentally, and its shape should be here, more like the sole of the front part of the shoe. In natural conditions, it should be lower, right? But since we are dealing with a character who stands in a default position completely on the foot, and therefore we will have to resort to such a trick. Our high-heeled shoes will be of this shape, and you will understand this later. Why exactly like this? I tried to make an initial default pose by Unreal Engine. For example, this is how our bones should be, like this. When we wear high-heeled shoes, our foot is deformed in a certain way. So here we have such a pose as a default pose with feet fully standing on the ground. I didn't succeed well with making it with tiptoe as a default pose. I'll have to manage with the current resources. Let me return this pose back. If you put the character in some pose and pose the bones there, you can select the bones that you changed. Choose Transform and Clear Transform. So we can return to the initial position. We'll display our shoes. I already have a copy of this for work to show how to configure it. There are no vertex groups, but this copy is already with vertex group. And these are shoes exactly like this, with such transformations at this angle. I will upload them to the cloud and leave a link to download these shoes in the video description, as you can use. And usually if you model yourself, or for example download from some 3D stock, you naturally will have the shoes in this position. You will need to adjust them to shape of the feet. I have already adjusted them. I'll just reset these transformations that I made to show the default position of the shoes. I put the shoes in this form. Here there is a nuance. The custom shoes you want to put on the character should be a little bit wider, as if not stick to the foot. So that we have a space for these shoes to deform during walking animations. So if you look everywhere, you will see that there is a certain space between the shoes and the foot, and even here we can correct it a little more. For example, here I have too close between the shoes to the toe. Here everything seems to be fine. In general, it will be necessary if you download the shoes from some resources on the internet. It will not be exactly the same shape that repeats the foot of the MetaHuman character. But it will definitely need to be adjusted by increasing the scale and turning and sculpting if necessary. My shoes are ready, and after we have done everything, all the adjustment of the shoes, we will need to reset all transformations. Select the shoes object, apply all transforms, and here in the object properties you will see that all these indicators should be reset to 0. The scale should be 1. So what do we do next? Let's display our bones. Select the shoes, select the root bones, press Ctrl+P and select Object command. So we have tied our shoes to the bones of the character. After this, we can apply the mirror modifier. The axis of symmetry should be X, no necessary to touch other setting. Then we need to apply the armature modifier. And in the armature modifier, we need to select the bones of the character, that is root. And then the third modifier for our shoes, we need to find the data transfer modifier. In the data transfer modifier, we will do the following. Firstly, we need to select the source, that is the object from which we will copy vertex groups. This will be our body, here it is. Select the eyedropper, or we can select the character's body from the list. Next, we will need to enable this vertex data checkbox and enable vertex group. These are the settings you should have. After you are convinced that you have vertex data and vertex group enabled, that you have also these settings: nearest vertex, all layers by name. Then click the button Generate Data Layers. So our shoes have vertex groups. If we look at the vertex groups of our body, we'll see these are the same vertex groups. They just copied to our shoes. And here the most interesting thing begins. Since our shoes are not flat-soled and these are custom shoes, there will be a very strong deformation during the walking animation, especially when deforming these bones that are responsible for the toe of the character. It doesn't really correspond to those weight of vertex groups. The weights of the vertex group will need to be changed a little. I'll show you how to do it. In general, here after we applied the data transfer modifier, we copied the weights for the vertex groups. Here they are. This is a group of vertices and each of them has weights. We now move on to edit them. Select the shoes, go to the weight paint mode. This is a painting tool for weights. Select a group of vertices and look what we have. Calf, this is the back part of the foot. It is responsible for this part and it is deformed when our foot bends. This light blue area indicates that the calf bone has a moderate influence on this part of the shoe. Basically, the weights can be from 0 to 1. If 0, this bone calf twist does not affect these vertices at all, and starting from 0 and above to 1, then this effect is increased. 1. This is the maximum impact, and now we need to select weights ranging from 0 to 1. They correspond to colors from blue to red. Blue is 0, red is 1. And in these places, except for the toe of the shoe, we will just need to execute the weight smooth command. I probably won't be able to draw now. I did something wrong. I had to apply the data modifier settings first. Go back here. I need this modifier in the list of modifiers. The data transfer must be applied. After that, if we go to paint mode, it will be possible to smooth. Don't forget to apply the data transfer, then you can work with weight. Let's go a couple of bones back, smooth it. Here we will also need smooth. I prefer 2 or 3 times. Here too. At the moment, we'll just make all the weights smoother and then we'll check it all in the most critical positions. We'll put the foot in a position where the foot is on a heel, then it will be visible where shoes have the most deformation, and in these places I will adjust the weights. These 2 bones, foot and ball, they will have the most impact on the mesh when deforming our shoes. Now it's just about refining and smoothing out the weight transitions here as well. Now exit the paint mode and select the bones. Go to pose mode. Let's bend the foot this way. Select all these bones using the Shift key. You can select several bones at the same time to pose them. Let's turn them on the side view like this. This position is when the shoe is most deformed. When we walk and move our foot back in heels, this kind of deformation. In principle, here everything looks very good. But here we could fix it. Well, it's not critical at all, but we can fix it. We exit the pose mode again. Go into the weight painting mode, and here we can just take the blur tool with a smaller radius here and just blur it with a border. Here we have intersection of the mesh. Since I need to do it from the inside, now we'll hide the leg and do the same from the inside. I think it's still necessary. Here paint it a little bit like this, and then somehow experimentally we need to adjust weights. Let's take the foot bone, and I think it's because of it. Such a problem appeared here and inside. What other bones affect this place? I found! One of the fingers affects this place. Let's make sure that everything is fine inside. And in general, when we paint the weights of some meshes of clothes, maybe some kind of hanging accessories, you always need to put bones in the position, in the critical angle that you have in the animation, and in these places you need to check more carefully. If the mesh behaves normally in these places, if it is well deformed without creases and everything looks realistic, then everything should be fine in other non-critical places. Now we can return to our usual pose. By the way, we can also check our shoes. Let's turn on pose mode. Let's go even stronger. Everything is fine. We have set it up very well, and I think in theory the leg shouldn't bend even more in this place. Well, even if we bend it like this, then it's fine, it's not critical. We can exit from the pose mode. Further, we have the data transfer modifier applied. And mirror and armature modifiers, they don't have to be applied, you can apply them later, if you want to do something with the shoes in the future. It's better to leave these modifiers unapplied. After that, we export our shoes with the bones. Select the shoes, hold Ctrl and select Root, File, Export, FBX. I already have a name since I already saved this file. And here such settings should be. It must be exactly these settings. Export selected objects, object types, armature and mesh. In armature, you need to uncheck Add Leaf Bones, uncheck Animation if it is turned on. And we need to export our shoes with these settings. Return to Unreal Engine. Here we go to Content Drawer. We need to create a folder for shoes. I will create a folder in the folder of my MetaHuman. I will call it Custom Shoes. And in the future, I can put all custom shoes here. I put the shoes exported from Blender in this folder. Open, and here we need to select MetaHuman Base Skeleton. And here are import settings. It is necessary that all these checkboxes be checked. So, usually I check these checkboxes, which at the beginning in the advanced section. We click Import All, and now our shoes have been imported to Unreal Engine. Close these windows. Let's save. Here they are, our shoes. Let's now put them on the character. We need to select our MetaHuman, go to the blueprint settings, select feet and select our shoes. We look through the search for our shoes, compile and save. Save and close this window. Let's see what we got. Here they were imported. I hide the floor. So they are our shoes. They stood in that place by default where they should be, under the flat foot. And of course this is not very beautiful when we have a character standing in such a pose and under his feet these shoes are at this angle. Well, for now I can't change the default pose. If you know how, please write in the comment how to change the default pose of MetaHuman. By the way, there's a lot written on the internet, even in the official manual, but according to their guidance, I couldn't do anything. Well, that's okay. We can do it in sequencer. We'll put MetaHuman in the same A pose, but on tiptoes, and from this pose, she will smoothly move into a pose to start walking. And then there will be a walking animation. So now we need this animation, which we created in the previous lesson and downloaded from Mixamo. By the way, I'll also leave the link to this animation in the description of the video. Let's apply this animation to our MetaHuman. I already have it here in this folder. Let's go select the MetaHuman body animation section. Here, use animation asset needs to be selected in animation mode. And if you have selected animation in Content Drawer, just press this button, Use Selected Asset from Content Drawer. She got into the initial pose of the animation, so let's now try to turn on the animation and see what happens. So let's take a closer look. I think everything worked out great. Certainly it may not work out the first time. You will need to go to Blender to adjust the weights sometimes. Maybe you will have a different walking animation. Maybe you will have a higher heel and there will be more deformation. But in any case, adjust the weights according to the same principle as I showed. That's it. Friends, if you found it useful and liked my video, please like and subscribe. And see you soon. Bye, everyone.